Babies this young are extremely responsive to the emotions and the reactivity and the social interaction that they get from the world around them. This is something that we started studying 30, 40 years ago, when people didn't think that infants could engage in social interaction. In the still face experiment, what the mother did was she sits down and she's playing with her baby, who's about a year of age.
I'm like a girl. Oh.
And she gives a greeting to the baby gives a greeting back to her.
Yeah.
This baby starts pointing at different places in the world, and the mother's trying to engage her and play with her. They're working to coordinate their emotions and their intentions, what they want to do in the world. And that's really what the baby is used to. And then we ask the mother to not respond to the baby. The baby very quickly picks up on this. And then she uses all of her abilities to try and get the mother back. She smiles at the mother. She points because she's used to the mother looking where she points. The baby puts both hands up in front of her and says, "What's happening here?" She makes that screechy sound at the mother, like, come on, why aren't we doing this? Even in this 2 minutes when...
Bitch! Bitch! Why are you not talking to me?
Maybe the funniest when the baby looks at you and you look back at it and then you look at the baby and you're like, you just take a shit? And the baby's like,
yeah.
play that video. Play that video. Play that video.
I can't believe this happened.
What do you think about California? You like it?
Yeah.
Do you like it? You taking a shit?
That will never not be funny.
That's really what California is now. Fucking
You
shit
like
stain.
it? Yeah. You like it? You taking a shit?
And when I was living over there, and my parents like, you like it over there? I'm like, yeah. Like, you like it? I'm like, rip shit.
They don't get the normal reaction. They react with negative emotions. They turn away. They feel the stress of it. They actually may lose.
You can see it's very difficult on the mom to have to sit there still face
Yeah.
while her kid's suffering.
Yeah.
Even though she's like this, you can see the ring. Like,
Yeah.
this is hard for her.
Yeah.
And the kid's suffering.
Okay. I'm here. And what are you doing? Oh, yes. Oh, what a big girl.
This video is brought to you by Surfshark.
No matter where I'm at, all right, whether it's in my house or in my Airbnb when I'm away or in Antarctica, or even when I'm taking a shit, I need to have access to all my programs. Hey! But sometimes the internet doesn't allow me for that because it's restricted because of the area that I'm in. Yeah, and for that, I need a system that allows me to change my location. And that's called a VPN changer. Yes, and the wonderful VPN that I'm using is Surfshark. It allows you to just change the location of where you are, and so you can watch everything that you want, no matter where you're at. Right now with Surfshark, you can just use promo code ABBA and Preach, and you're gonna be able to have 83% off. Plus, there's a plus, 3 months extra for free. I know, crazy. Get on it.
It's a little like the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good is that normal stuff that goes on, that we all do with our kids. The bad is when something bad happens, but the infant can overcome it. After all, when you stop the still face, the mother and the baby start to play again. The ugly is when you don't give the child any chance to get back to the good. There's no reparation, and they're stuck in that really ugly situation.
What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, we're joking and everything and stuff. And But it just reminds me when I was working for child support, that child protective department. You know, some of the parents that, you know, the still face mom. Some of the parents that when they are in their down of drugs, they look exactly like that. There's just no reaction because they're like,
Because they're high.
or because they're starting to come down off the high.
Yeah.
So they're just like this and that. And they're raising young kids, right? And you can see later the effect of that. Well, you can see. Yes and no. Maybe I'm biased and stuff like that. There was other things, you know, with the kids and everything. But yeah, there is a difference with the interactions with stuff like that. And it can affect, from what I've seen, again, like I don't have a lab coat, but it's from what I've experienced, right? You could either see people that are very closed on themselves because they don't know how to interact, or people because of that can like they want to go out there and get the attention, and in the wrong way, right? In the wrong way, they try to seek that attention. So if you give the same situation to a human being and a human being in development, you're going to have different results, but definitely it is going to affect that person. That's just what it reminds me of, those times, dealing with people when I was going to see my friends as well in the projects, and you could see some families that they were not there, and you could see the effects on the kid. So that's what it reminds me of.
Yeah. It made me think about like cell phone and mask usage. It's like
Oh, fuck. Yeah.
a lot of people be raising their kids, but they're not even really there because they're, which I understand, like, it's a lot of maintenance to be around a child all the time.
Yeah.
Some people take it above and beyond where they're like really away from the child for long periods of time. But sometimes you're around the kid for a long period of time and you're just on your phone. You're just barely like looking at him. And I wonder what kind of effect that has on children.
Well, you know.
Because it's not just about, like, you know, they do studies on how much time a parent spends with their kid and what the better outcomes are for the child itself. But it's also like the quality of the time you spend together. You know, some people, it's like you know, when couples complain, they're like, oh, my husband's here, but he's always on his phone, or he's always doing work, or he's not really there. It's like people want you to be present. They want you to feel like while you're around them, you're really there. And I imagine even for children, the same way when the woman had a still face, when you got a still face looking at another device and the kid's trying to interact with you, I imagine that's got to also be really negatively harmful.
Yeah, there's definitely that. You see how it affected the kid. Probably not in the long term, right there on that video. The time we passed in the pandemic with the masks on,
Yeah.
there's a bunch of kids that definitely it affected. For sure. You know, yeah, I could definitely see that happening. Like the generation that we have of kids right now, they lived through that. It was a traumatic event.
Yeah. It's not about saying like whether masks are good or not. It's not my point. It's just understanding what are the other ramifications of using those kinds of devices.
Yeah.
For kids who really rely on facial, and like to understand the world around them, it really impacts their ability to understand what the other person's feeling or interacting with. And then even for adults, like I think during the pandemic, masks rated people who were uglier much more attractive, and people who were attractive much uglier. And so it fucked our perception up of people and the way they look. But it also made it much more difficult to read social cues and to interact. It made us more distant in many ways.
Not so much that they were uglier, but their beauty power did not work anymore. You know, when you use so much of having this and then you present yourself and people are, now you just have this. We don't know. It's not so much that they were uglier as that shit don't work. Because I can't see it. I can't see none of that. So, yeah, I can see that it can have an effect on people, and it can definitely change people.
Yeah.
The interaction were all different. How close we were with people, and now we're a little bit more distance, and there was a sense of fear at some point. Like, you got it? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, definitely. Again, like you said, it's not saying that there was not a reason for doing that or no reason. It's just you have to understand all the things that come into play. It's not just, oh yeah, we're doing this for that. Cool. But what else is this affecting?
Yeah. kids are very perceptive. Like, being around, like they can see like, when your face changes, they stop and they look at you.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I know that face. They're upset and they start crying because like if he's upset, now I'm upset, right? I've seen it. I see it firsthand. I see like a parent just look at a kid and the kid just loses it, right? At the same time, if you get very playful with a kid, like you go, like, whoo, the kid starts playing as well. And so they're obviously reading their mood off of you. And depending on how you treat them over long periods of time, it's going to severely impact their mental well-being. I see what happens to a child when they're in a good space for long periods of time and their mood improves over time. And I see what happens when they're in a dark place and you see how it like makes it hard for them to open up over a long period. So whether they're infants, whether they're little children, the way you behave around them, the kind of faces that you might make, the way that we say energy, but energy is probably just the amalgamation of like all the little things that you're doing with your face, your body posture, your habits that is being like put into one thing. And the energy you exude will also impact those around you. So, you know, we see it here in this experiment with children, but even with adults, you know, like you got a partner, you want to communicate with them, but something like they're just not communicating well, or you feel like they're not, but you look at their body posture, the way that they look at you, and you can feel contempt or whatever, that'll fuck with your mind. It's not just a kid thing. Like you ever date somebody, you're like, yo, what's changed? The way you look at me feels a bit different. That'll fuck with your brain. And so what's the point of all this? It's just to be aware of how we carry ourselves, to be aware of like what all this does and what it does to other people around us. Yeah, just to be aware, especially the phone thing. The phone thing I think is like much more harmful than people take on, especially when you're with a group of people and you're constantly on it and you're really absent. Like that has an effect on them. Even though they may not outwardly complain or go home and cry about it, it has a negative effect on the people around you. Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much all. Let us know what you guys think in the comments.